Well, Ben Graham and David Dodd are long gone, but the maestros of finance and value investing, the discipline that they created, lives on. And on today's ETF Battles, we've got a quadruple header between 4 equity value ETFs. Stick around. Welcome to ETF Battles. I'm Ron DeLegge, and value investing is a strategy that chooses stocks and companies that are trading at less than their book or intrinsic value. Its foremost and most famous proponent is none other than Yoda Buffett. Now, in case you didn't get the memo, value stocks have been outperforming their growth counterparts since the start of the year, and that makes today's ETF Battles all the more timely. We've got QVAL, Deep, VLUE, and VTV facing off. Now, before I introduce our judges, you can now listen to ETF Battles at Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. And if it's your first time watching us on ETF Guide TV, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Judging today's contest is Todd Rosenbluth, Director of ETF Research at CFRA, and Eric Balchunas, Senior ETF Analyst at Bloomberg. Judges, welcome back. It's great to see you.
Great to be here, Ron.
Pleasure being with you again. Thanks a lot.
Todd, by the way, was recently called a suit by Dave Courtney at Barstool. So let me get this straight. If Todd is a suit, that means Dave is a T-shirt. And no offense, Dave, but I'd rather be a canali than a Fruit of the Loom. I said canali, not cannoli. Man, the only thing this guy ever thinks about is food. Okay, enough with the canalis and the cannolis, because we got this ETF battle that we got to get to. So headlining again this contest is QVAL, Deep, VLUE, and VTV. We're going to go through each of these 4 battle categories one at a time. Our judges are going to pick their favorite ETF. And at the end of the show, we're going to declare a winner. Now, our judges can also opt for a split decision, or they can nominate a wildcard ETF. It's completely up to them. And the more unexpected mayhem per capita that we can have on this show, all the better. Now, I've got my scorekeeping duties, and my scorecard is ready. So we're going to begin with the first category, which is cost. We're going to start with Eric. Eric, who wins the battle?
This is so tough, Ron, because I'll go over why it's tough. You're really looking at, Goldilocks, the porridges, right? QVAL and Deep are very spicy. These are going for the gold, right? And then VTV is very watered down, very broad, won't move a lot, less volatile. And then VLUE is kind of in the middle. It's kind of that Goldilocks, middle of the road porridge. And the expense ratios are exactly that. You sort of pay as you get more concentrated in this department. And as you get more concentrated, the expense ratio means less because the outperformance potential is so much greater. So it's tough. But I will say, if you are just strictly a fee person, probably got to give the nod to Vanguard. I mean, it's 4 basis points for what is a value portfolio is almost absurd. I mean, to think of how far we've come over, 20 years, where you can now buy what's effectively a decent value manager. This will probably beat at least half of them. And for 4 basis points, that's pretty good. VLUE is 15 basis points. That's still pretty good. And VLUE incorporates the value factor, goes a little further. And then QVAL is 49 bips and Deep is 80. QVAL being 49 as being that hot sauce kind of product is pretty good. That's a lot of, we have a field we call how much are you paying for a unit of active share? And that would be a cheap ETF, all things considered. So I'm going to give a split decision between QVAL for the unit per active share cheapness and VTV for the straight up cheapness.
That's a good start. Thank you, Eric. We shift to Todd. How do you see it in terms of cost?
Wow, he took 3 minutes to say that 4 basis points is really cheap. So let me save time. 4 basis points is really cheap for any ETF. And if you're focused on expense ratio, as Eric knows, I'm not only focused on that, and CFRA is not, but 4 basis points, man, that's it. End of sentence. VTV, 4 basis points.
Thank you,
Yeah, but
Todd.
I got to reply. You should, when Todd and I are on it, it turns into Analyst battle. But Todd, you're getting a lot of beta there. So that should be almost free at this point. I agree it's cheaper, but what are you really paying for with those 4 basis points? I think
we're going to get
more with the others.
Eric, we're going to get there. That's the next category. Let Ron tee me up for that.
Okay.
All right. So
I didn't mean to, Todd, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. Ron will cut this if he needs to, but keep going. We're good.
All right. Well, that's a strong start for you, Todd. Nonsensical look at cost. We appreciate that. So that takes us next to exposure strategy. And you're still up, Todd.
Yeah, so this is where the devil is in the details. These are four very different ETFs when you look at exposure. Eric touched on some of this, but VTV is slightly value versus the broader S&P 500, exposure to almost all of the sectors with almost the same exposure you get. QVAL is the winner that we have here. We think it's quarterly rebalanced. It's focusing on the stocks that are undervalued with a quality bias towards it. There's multiple screens that they use. It's got high quality companies that we at CFRA like, such as Big Lots and Dick's Sporting Goods. Consumer companies are heavily weighted here. All these ETFs are good. They're very different. QVAL to us stands out for its exposure.
Thank you, Todd. How do you see it, Eric, in terms of your exposure strategy? Who wins the battle between these four ETFs?
It's really tough, especially if you got to know your goal. For an advisor with my mom as her client, I probably give it to VTV. But for a younger investor who's doing a barbell portfolio of cheap beta, and then you want something a little spicier on top, I think it would be a toss-up between QVAL and Deep. As Todd says, I like QVAL a lot for that junk screen. Deep also has one, but Deep goes way more into small caps. So when there's a pop, in fact, this year to date, Deep pop a little more because of that small cap tilt. 83% of the stocks are small cap, whereas QVAL's large cap. So I would call it a tie between those two. The question would be, do you want this in large cap or small cap form? But I think those two I would have to give the winner because, again, I'm looking at this as a portfolio of somebody who wants strong value, a lot deep value, assuming you already own beta.
And just to confirm, VTV and QVAL are your picks, split decision.
On this one, no, Deep and QVAL.
Okay, Deep and
I'm
okay,
split on this one between the two deep value ones.
Got it. Excellent. Thank you for clarifying, Eric. We shift now to performance. So this is a quadruple header. Which of these four ETFs really jumps out at you, Eric, in terms of performance?
Well, year to date, Deep. Deep is up something like 26%. And again, it's got that small cap kick to it. And I guess I would give the edge to Deep only because when you look at what didn't work over the last decade, it's small cap value. I mean, value definitely. I mean, it's become like almost a laughing stock at this point. But small cap value is like the bottom of the barrel. And we know that the bottom of the barrel is what's going to come up the fastest. It's going to come up so fast, it's going to get the bends. And that's what's happening. Deep is up 28%. QVAL, a little less. VLUE, a little behind that. And then VTV is lagging. But if value this is a head fake, and we go back to this sort of environment where growth is taking over, then VTV will outperform them. It will do less bad. So again, I would probably give the edge to Deep here if you are going for the gold because it has that small cap exposure, although QVAL is right behind it.
Thank you, Eric. We shift to Todd. In terms of performance, do you agree with Eric's analysis? How do you see it?
Well, we're going to look slightly further back than the last, 3 months of 2021. And well, if we go back 3 years, you've got VTV and VLUE that are neck and neck. And then as you'd expect, the deeper value strategies underperformed and more. My winner in this case would be VLUE. We haven't spent much time talking about it, but it's performing relatively well, both on the medium term of 3 years and in the shorter term of the past year or so in the middle of the pack there. So for consistency's sake, from a historical performance basis, again, no one should be buying an ETF just based on its past performance, but VLUE would be our winner here.
All right. Thank you very much, Todd. And now we have been brought to the mystery battle category, where our judges get to pick that one factor or maybe multiple factors that they think are crucial to today's quadruple header. So Todd, what is your mystery battle category and who wins it?
So we at CFRA have an independent rating methodology focused on risk, reward, and cost. I'm going to move the cost part of it out of it. Deep and QVAL both are 5-star rated ETFs in our methodology. VLUE is a 3-star, VTV is a 2-star. So the higher the stars, the greater the likelihood of outperformance over the next 9 months. We think QVAL and Deep are the stronger likely performers based on what's inside the portfolio and based on how it's performed from a consistency standpoint. So I guess I'll go again with a tie for Deep and QVAL because we like all of our 5 stars equally, just like our children.
Yes. Thank you very much for treating the kids nicely. They appreciate that. And it's also my battle scorecard up until now is pretty much evenly matched. I got to say, this is a very close matchup so far, but we'll see what you guys say on your overall winner. So we'll shift to you, Eric, your mystery category. What is it and who wins it?
Is it secret spicy sauce, Eric? Is that what you're going with?
Hey, listen, Todd, you just wait for it. Okay. Don't, I didn't steal your thunder. Don't steal mine.
All right. Ask him the question again so that I won't step on him.
No, I leave all this in. This is great. Well, whatever you want to do, Ron, but I'll just go into it. So my category is the sectors. And one thing that jumps out to me is when you go to VTV and VLUE in particular, which are more sector concerned, they're more sector aware and similar to broad general benchmarks. But Deep and QVAL are a little more wild. They'll be able to go into sectors with more reckless abandon. But Deep has 38% in the financial sector. And I will say, and QVAL has nothing in that sector. That's interesting. And that's probably somewhat due to that small cap difference. And that makes me a touch concerned about rising rates. We know banks and financial institutions tend to be a little sensitive to rising rates. And that's a little bit of a concern. That said, that can also be a good thing. So in this case, the sectors make me just give me a little hesitancy on Deep. QVAL not having that, I think probably a little bit of a plus in my opinion. And so I would give the edge to QVAL here, but Deep would be close behind. And again, I'm also speaking as somebody who wants to go and really ride a value comeback. Whereas Todd spoke about earlier, if I'm looking over the past 3 years or 10 years, of course I would pick the watered down one because value didn't work. So I'm assuming you think value is going to work. If you don't and you just want value for 20 years, then yeah, I might lean to the other one. So this is why it's so confusing, Ron, is because we don't know the goal of the investor, but assuming the goal is to play a value comeback, I go QVAL with Deep close behind.
All right, very good. Thank you. We got you down for QVAL. And now your overall battle winner, you're still up, Eric. So this has been a tough matchup up until now. So how do you see it shaken down?
I'm going to give a tie to QVAL and Deep. And I'm just going to say to the person out there that the tiebreaker would be up to you. Do you want that small cap kick? And if you do, Deep. If you don't, QVAL. But they're both great. And I think they're going to have their day in the sun if and when there's a value regime or when value leads the market again, if it leads the market again.
Todd, you're up. Your overall winner for this epic quadruple header. How do you see it?
So QVAL would be the winner from my perspective. QVAL has a 5-star rating from CFRA from a forward-looking basis, based on its risk and reward. The cost is okay. It's not as expensive as Deep. We think the exposure is stronger in terms of what you're getting, in terms of that higher quality and more mid to large cap tilt to it. And the performance is going to swing around a little bit. That's okay to us for the reasons that Eric touched on. So QVAL would be our overall winner. And I have to say, Ron, I know you're going to show the scorecard here, but this looks like this is a 15-inning baseball game with lots of relief pitchers and substitutions, because we've got ties mostly across the board.
You're exactly right. You're my backup scorekeeper too, Todd, because Todd, if I ever get out of line, Todd is the one that keeps me in line. And you're exactly right. My scorecard, it looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. But nevertheless, based on what I've got here, I'm going to have to call QVAL as the winner. I would say it was a very narrow victory. You guys agreed in a couple of areas like exposure strategy and overall winner, even though it was a split decision for Eric. Nevertheless, QVAL gets the edge. And we love doing quadruple headers for the same reason that the late Tommy Lasorda enjoyed doing double headers, because we get to keep on our uniforms for a few extra innings longer. Well, thank you, judges, for helping us to sort through today's epic quadruple header. Now, keep in mind the performance of value stocks, like I said at the outset, and our judges mentioned, is coming to life here in 2021. Value ETFs are a great way to play that trend. And there's no denying the viability of value investing as a long-term strategy. The question is, will you have the patience and the stamina to be around when the jackpot hits? Well, kudos again to our judges, Eric and Todd, for helping us again to sort through today's quadruple header. Which ETF battles would you like to see in our next episode, and why? You got to tell us why. Post your thoughts in our YouTube comment section below, or hit us up on Twitter at ETF Guide. Be sure to hashtag ETF Battles. Thanks for watching. I'm DeLegge, and until next time, watch the battle before you invest.